Hey everybody, this is Vril. Welcome back to Extended Timeline World War II. In the last episode, Germany became a republic after 30 years of being a fascist dictatorship. That did not stop their aggressive expansion though, and they ended up warring with the Netherlands, taking all of their European provinces, as well as Denmark, taking all of their European provinces. So the Denmark is pushed all the way back to the Greenland, and the Netherlands is pushed back all the way to Indonesia. We also had the Turkish declare war on Greece. The Turks were backed up by Egypt, and they ended up capturing a couple Greek islands here in the Aegean Sea. We also had the Hungarians declare war on the Bosnians, took over all of Bosnia. Then, because we've seen a lot of these Hungarian wars, the Polish decided to declare a punitive war against them, backed up by the Norwegians, the Portuguese, the Iceland, Luxembourg, Bulgaria, Belgium, and Slovakia. The Hungarians have French support in this war. So actually looking down here, the French have captured quite a bit of Belgium. And the war score is actually going on the side of the Hungarians at this point. We've got several more wars firing off between the Iraqi-Saudi Arabian War. We've got the Americans have declared war on Japan, trying to capture a little bit of Indonesia back that the Japanese had taken from the Americans. So let's just go ahead and start progressing time. We've got so many wars going on, a lot to cover in this episode. Hopefully I do a good job. All these wars, it's going to be hard to cover everything that's going on. So here's our diplomatic map showing off what's going on. We've got the Hungarians with the French against Polish, Slovakia, Bulgaria. We've got, what else do we have? I don't think the Turks are at war any longer. We have the Swedish against the Finnish, and Estonia is backing the Finns here. But I do think Sweden has the upper hand in this war at this point. Let's head back on over to the Pacific, where we've been spending a lot of our time. Actually, the Portuguese are on the side of the Polish in that punitive war, and they've been capturing quite a bit of French Indochina here, but the French look like they're capturing some of it back at this point. Manchuria is actually, or Manchukuo, has captured quite a bit of the American Indonesia, even though the Americans are trying to actually capture back some of these provinces that Japan has. So that's not going very, very well for the Americans. Japanese just seem to be a whole lot better with these moving their units across the ocean. The Americans have like so many units just sitting here in North America that they're not moving. They don't have they have the Navy in terms of their battleships and things like that, but they just don't have the transports to move anything across. It's kind of typical EU4 wars when they have to go across the ocean. We do have some Dutch revolutionaries here, so I can't imagine there's much of an issue with these revolutionaries. The problem might be, though, that the Netherlands does not have a very large army at this point. I guess they do have a 56 stack here, though, but they don't have the manpower at this point after that war with the Americans, and they also had a war with the Germans. Obviously, Germans taking their provinces here in Europe. So we've got also a Moroccan pretender rebels here. So these guys, actually it looks like Morocco is this. We've got Algeria has declared war on Morocco, and at the same time these have Moroccan pretender rebels here. So it's probably not going to go very well for Morocco here. I would think that Algeria is probably going to be able to take them over. So you just check out, there's kind of not much going on in this. I mean, this is a major war between Poland and Hungary, but because the French don't have a way into Poland, they only had this way into Belgium. It's just not much going on in Europe at the moment in terms of that war. I think Denmark is actually at war with Sweden as well. They were trying to get back the Sealand province from Sweden. Sweden actually did have it, but then the Germans captured it from the Swedish. So even though Denmark is at war there, they're not actually warring against the right place that actually has that province that they want. So let me just check out. We got tons of wars that have apparently fired off here. So let me just check out. We had this. Okay. We've got the Iraqis fighting the Saudi Arabians. The Saudis have some... Okay, the Iraqis captured that province. Looks like the Iraqis are going to lose this war there. They just do not have the army to face off with the Saudis at this point. We have Peruvian Panamanian nationalist war. Let's head on over there, and let me actually use the map here. I've been neglecting the mini-map here when we're talking about navigating around everything. So, Peruvian Panamanian, I would say that the Peruvians are going to have the upper hand in this particular war. They even have the Venezuelan backing, so that's not much of a war at all. They're probably going to take the canal here, and that'll be very important for the Peruvians to have. So let's see, what else do we have here? Hopefully I'm not missing anything. We've got a Turkish-Iranian imperialist war. Let's head on over there. Again, I'll use the mini-map. I've been totally neglecting it. So we have 70 stack with the Turks here. We've got a 38, or with the Iranians actually. It looks like they beat the Turks back there, but the Turks have captured a couple Iranian provinces, but that was probably a pretty decisive war that we just arrived at the very end on. Yeah, I would think that possibly. It looks like they Turkish have some better leaders. They have two-star generals, whereas the Iranians have 1 2-star and 1 single star. So keep an eye on this one. I think I'm going to bump up the speed to 3 and just keep an eye on this one. We'll pause for a moment. We've actually got another large war that just fired off with the Italian Somaliland. So Italy and the Italian Somaliland against the British, bunch of British African colonies, and as well as the Soviet Union. So that's pretty major war. Looks like the Soviets have military access to get through Poland and possibly Germany to get to Italy. So that is not good for Italy. There have been a few wars with Italy. They were allied with the Japanese in previous episodes, and they warred against the Soviets. And the Soviets didn't have a way to get into Italy, but the Italians had a way to get into the Soviet Union on the west side here. But so they'd capture quite a few of these provinces, but the Soviets really couldn't do anything about it. Not very good this time. I think that the Soviets are going to steamroll into northern Italy here. So that Polish-Hungarian punitive war is going very poorly for the Polish. I think we might have had a couple areas peace out in this particular war. Algerian Moroccans are... Yeah, Algerians are certainly winning this war. I think because I think our speed is good enough for going up to 3, but because of all these wars going on, I'm just going to keep it at 2 for now and just see how this goes. It's like always mid-sentence I start reconsidering what I just said when it comes to the speed here, but I'm going to keep it on 2. French peasants have risen up here in that island there in the Mediterranean, and there's not much they can do about it because they have to send units across the ocean there. Let's check out what's going on in the Pacific, though. Looks like the French recapturing most of French Indochina that the Portuguese had taken. Americans have not taken back of any of American Indonesia. I would recommend that the Japanese, once they're not at war with the Americans, just kind of take it easy for a little while. They also have been in quite a few wars since the beginning of this that they've actually, I thought they were going to lose, but they actually ended up taking some territory, like in the American Indonesia. But other than that, it's been tough sailing for them. I mean, they lost out in China, obviously. Here, they did take over Japanese Korea, and they've maintained Manchukuo, but other than that, it's been tough for them. So we've got the Italian Somaliland capturing some of British East Africa. I would think that possibly... Although the British, I was just going to say that I would think the British could probably get together a cohesive unit at some point. They do have the Soviets, so yeah, now that I think of that, they probably don't have much chance at all. Yeah, I wouldn't expect that the Italian Somaliland is going to hold on to this very long. All these Commonwealth nations, plus the Soviets, is going to turn the tide against the Italians on this one, I'd say. I mean, the Italians don't have any help here whatsoever. It does look like the French are being allowed across Germany to go into... actually, it looks like Hungary's recapturing some of their territory back. And actually... So they're going to have help from the French here in a moment, and they can probably siege out the Polish. So that's an interesting turn of events. French and the Germans helping each other, helping the Hungarians fight the Polish here. So, yeah, I think that Polish punitive war does not have long. So let's have a look at this Iranian-Turkish war here. I think that the Turks probably won a battle here because it looks like the Iranians are a little scattered at this point, and they did have 2 large stacks earlier on. How's this Iraqi? Okay, that must have ended. We had this Iraqi-Saudi Arabian war that was going on, and nobody has changed any territory there, so it's good for the Iraqis, because I thought they were going to end up losing. We've got a battle between the Iranians and the Turks here, as the Turks are going to win. Okay. Yeah, it looks like this war is certainly going on the side of the Turks. Yes, it is. I'm going to sort that by positive war score. See, it was up to 30. Got some rebels in India and colonial lands here. We've got... Okay, I thought there was actually an American stack there in Taiwan, but it's not. Just a Navy stack. Americans have this huge Navy, can't move units across the ocean. Should think about what they're spending their money on there back in the United States. What kind of Navy units they're going to spend money on. We've just had a Navy battle there. I think it was between the Italians and the British. And we've got the Soviets are now sieging here in northern Italy. Looks like the Italians are pretty scattered, just like the Iranians are here. The Turks they're beaten down a little bit. I mean, they are taking some attrition as well, but I think they have the Iranians' number at this point. We've also got some wars between former Portuguese colonies against Portugal still. I think that... Let me switch on over to Portugal, actually. Yeah, so you can see they're at war with... Actually, war with the French, so that's not going to help. Anything else interesting going on? Nah, I think that Iranian-Turkish one, I'm curious to see how that one turns out. What land that the Turks get at this point. I'm going to bump it up to 3 speed here for just a few. See how we go. Our speed's been pretty good. I think the first couple episodes, I think it was in the 2nd or 3rd episode of this series that we really had a lot of slowdowns, but for the most part, I think that was all related to, we had like 1.5 million rebels at one point in time on the map, so that really was a killer for my CPU. So we just had... This war just ended, it looks like. Let's see, I don't think that the Turks, for that big war, they ended up taking over 1 province from the Iranians, so that's not as much as I thought they would have done. We've got a Mauritanian Portuguese war as well. So that other one must have just ended, and then Mauritania declared war on the Portuguese as well. Okay, they are... We'd guess that they... What province do they want? Because that is not part of Portugal, okay? Maybe they're just... It is a imperialist war. Well, we'll see what happens coming out of that. They are positive. I think that they probably declared war because the Portuguese are probably on their toes at the moment. It looks like we've got a Mauritanian stack right in Portugal, so they're going to cause some damage there. Is Portugal going to become Mauritania? It could happen. Looks like we have a Algerian-Moroccan war again. Is this the second time in this episode that we have one of these, or am I just thinking of one of these other African wars, like between Mali and Niger and others? I thought this happened already. I might be mistaken. Would not be the first time. So this Italian and Somaliland war is still going on as well. The Italians look like they're completely scattered. Yeah, look at all these Soviet stacks here. The British are also here. So this war does not have much longer. And actually, there it goes. It just ended. I'm not sure what actually happened, what actually came from this war here, though. Yeah, I'm not sure at all, actually. These maps, maybe they took a little bit of Italian Somaliland? Can't quite tell. Well, let's just check what other war we have. Another, I think that's in the Indian subcontinent there. We've got a Chinese change of government in Dali, backed up by Bhutan. That's certainly going to lose that one, it would appear. But this is, I think, the first aggression that the Chinese have had. So yeah, I mean, that was a change of government war, but they ended up taking a few provinces, it looks like. So, I mean, some of these casus bellis, the AI doesn't hold to. Like, we had the Soviet Union do a change of government in Afghanistan, and they ended up not doing any change of government and just took a couple provinces. See, this change of government thing, unless this guy wasn't the leader, and I would have thought that a change of government coming from the socialists here, the communists, would have been putting a communist ruler into power here in the Dali kingdom. But apparently not. I mean, I would think in, say, Victoria, that when you do a change of government, it literally changes the government to whatever government you want to be in power, so that's how we would have thought it would work. Yeah, that American reconquest in Indonesia not going well. I would expect that war has been going on for a little while, so I wouldn't be surprised if it just ends because of the support from the Americans. Public is probably not going very well, and they're probably getting a little bit of war exhaustion at this point. So actually I was going to say we ignored it. The Peruvians had that war with the Panamanians here, and they took over the canal here. So Peru now owns the canal. Peru is becoming pretty strong here. I think they're going to need to expand up into El Salvador as well. Maybe another war with the Panama, maybe with Ecuador as well, though they might be allied with Ecuador. No, they're not. So that could happen, and then they might be able to challenge Brazil here. It could happen. So we've got a British-Sudanese war for independence. British Sudan with... I don't see any... Sometimes you get... Okay, there was one. We've got Spain backing them up. I was going to say that sometimes we've got the Netherlands. A lot more European powers that'll back up these colonies against the British, Argentina, Mexico, a lot of countries in here, okay. Including the Soviet Union. Warring against these separatists here that want their independence. Let me just quickly have a look at the map here. It's a British Sudan, including Cape Colony, interestingly enough, against the British, the Soviet Union. We've got some of these, we've got Argentina here as well. It's interesting, Argentina's allied with the British here. I guess the Argentinians are very happy as long as they have the South Georgia Island and the Falkland Islands, they'll be happy with the British. So, with that said, it does look like we're out of time for this episode. I hope you enjoyed this one, and please consider hitting the like button if you did, as it really helps out the channel. So I'll see you guys next time.